You know, it's good to have 22, 23, 24 pounds, whatever this bird is. He feels like 30 right now. It's good to have him over your shoulder. But man, I'll tell you what, these hills get harder and harder every year. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or they're getting heavier. Probably I'm just getting older. But we had some pretty good luck this morning. And I want to be talking in this video about a trick that you can use sometimes that a lot of inexperienced turkey hunters a lot of times mess up because they move at the wrong time, because they get a little bit nervous that the turkey's leaving. But there's a little trick that you can use sometimes that'll help you when the turkeys come in too far to your right, too far to your left, or behind you like this one did, and you can't move. We're gonna be talking about killing late season gobblers and how to move on them when you just can't move. Let's look at this gobbler. Boy, he's a nice turkey. Man, this is why I love late season right here. You get hooks like this. Big old 4-year-old turkey, probably about probably 1.25 inch spur, and just really a nice hook turkey, and really a nice one. You know, this gobbler here is a prime example of a late season hunt, especially on a quiet year where they're just not gobbling much. You know, I've hunted since the 26th of March, and I'm telling you, this has been the quietest spring I can remember in a long time. And it's not just being where I'm at. I think everybody's experiencing it, that they're just not gobbling much. But I think it's going to pick up in the next week or so. This is you know, right here getting toward the middle of May, so I think it's going to work a little better. But this gobbler here, man, I'll tell you, he just had my nerves shot. I mean, that's just all there is to it. You know, I've been hunting turkeys a long time, and I've killed a bunch of turkeys, but I don't think I've ever been as close to one as I was this one. If you can believe this, I heard this turkey breathing, and that's the God's truth. I heard this turkey breathing. That's how close he was. He was probably 3 yards at the most, right behind the tree where I was at. I was against a great big old tree, just right over the hill there, and I was against this great big old tree that was twice the size of me, and he was right on the other side of it. But this turkey here never gobbled. I heard him spitting and drumming about 10 o'clock, and I hadn't heard nothing all morning. Well, I think I heard one way across the road, but he was so far you could barely hear him, but nothing close. And about 10 o'clock, I was sitting there just doing some light calling, you know, doing some soft calling on my mouth call, and just no gobbles. And all of a sudden, I just kept hearing something, and it sounded like it was spitting and drumming. And sure enough, you know, that's exactly what it was. I couldn't figure it out until about 10 minutes later. He got a little bit closer. But when I heard him, I peeked around the tree like this, and I kept peeking back around through there, and then I seen him down there, and he was about 80 yards from me. Well, I couldn't move because he was looking kind of up my way, and he was strutting, and I was trying every time he'd move and have his tail to me. I was trying to ease around like this, and I'd stop, and then I'd ease around like this a little more. And I was trying to get pointed that way and start working him, because I wasn't calling to him, because I didn't want him coming up there and me not in position to shoot. And so I'm just sitting there soft calling. You know, I wasn't calling at all, but I was. And then I heard him and I seen him and I stopped. And I just watched him for a minute, and he had a hen with him. Then I seen the hen, and she was down there too. So I knew, you know, and I thought, well, you know, that's great. So he's probably going to be with her. But, you know, I just kept sitting there watching him, and they started to ease off, go back up on the other side, and I soft called to him. Now, why did I call to him after not calling to him at all? He was leaving. They were going the opposite way. You're not going to mess anything up. He's leaving anyway. Well, I thought I'd soft call a little bit. Maybe I might get his interest to come back down there, or maybe keep that hen in there, and maybe she might come around too. Well, that's exactly what happened. So I yelped a little bit to him, and he gobbled one time. That was the first time I heard him gobble. He was right down there. When he gobbled, I kind of felt good because I knew I had his interest. He gobbled back at me. I knew I had his interest, and he knew where I was at. See, that's a key right there. If you can get one to respond, if it's just one time, he knows where you're at. And he knew exactly what tree I was at too, just about, because he come right behind me a few minutes later. But I'm sitting there watching them. Now they're kind of, instead of right behind me, they're kind of over here, and I'm watching them like this. And I'm real concealed, you know. I mean, I'm, you know, full bottom land up against that great big tree, and I'm watching them. And I was sitting there praying that they would come down like this, because I had the gun like this, and I was hoping they'd just come right up through there and walk, you know, in front of me, or at least to where I could move a little bit. But they didn't. Actually, I yelped a little bit. He gobbled, and then about probably 10 minutes later, he's still down there spitting and drumming, strutting around that hen. He broke, and he left that hen, and he come across the creek, that little creek, come across it, and he come up my side, and now he's behind me. I'm sitting here like this, and I'm going, oh no, oh man, and I'm watching him, and I just keep watching him like this, and he just keeps getting further behind me, and he walks right up that point, and now I hear him behind me, and I hear him spitting and drumming back there. The hen's still over here on the hillside. He leaves the hen, he comes over here, and I can't do nothing. What are you going to do? Now, a lot of guys would, you know, they would try to move a little bit at a time, and you're probably gonna get busted. So experience told me, just calm down. He's not going anywhere unless he comes right, you know, here and busts you or something. He's not gonna go anywhere. So I could hear him back here spitting and drumming. I didn't call to him. He knowed I was up there. He was looking for me. And I'm telling you, God's truth, I've been turkey hunting all these years. And I'm telling you, he got closer and never gobbled. I could just hear you spitting and drumming, and it got closer and closer and closer. And this thing got so close right here, I could hear these right here dragging the ground. I could hear them dragging the soft ground. I could hear him. It was just going like this. And he's spitting it, and I could hear him dragging his feathers in the, oh my Lord, my heart was about to come out of my chest. I didn't know what to do. You know, my fear was he was going to come right here, you know, 7, 8, 10 yards and bust me, and I couldn't do nothing. So I'm sitting here like this, you know, squinting down, you know, kind of hunkered down, squints down, not moving a muscle. And again, it pays to have good camo, and that's why, you know, I've preached for years that this, you know, in my opinion, you can't get no better than bottomland mossy oak camo. You know, you look like a tree, and you're just sitting there still, don't move. And this turkey gets right here on the other side of the tree where I was at. I mean, he was so close, ladies and gentlemen, he was so close, I could hear at one time, I could hear him breathing. I mean, seriously, and I've never heard a turkey breathe that close. He had to be no more than 3 or 4 yards on the other side of that tree from me, and I couldn't do nothing. And I'm sitting there, my heart's actually just beating out of my chest. And so what you do in a situation like that? You can't move. Well, what you do is you let them walk off. Okay, you let them walk off. Now here's what I want to talk about and tell you. When you have a situation where you can't move, and they're either too far to your right, because how many times have you sat here and a turkey's too far to your right or too far to your left, and you can't move, he's too close, pops out. Well, what do? A lot of times, if you try to force movement, you're going to mess up. He's going to putt and he's going to get out of there. But if you'll just calm down, tell yourself, he's looking for me, he's not going nowhere, just be patient and let him walk off. And that's exactly what I did to this turkey, and I've done it to a lot of turkeys over the years. Does it work all the time? No, nothing works all the time. Sometimes I'll let them walk off and they don't do nothing but just leave. But a lot of times, if they're looking for you and they know where you're at, especially if they broke from a hen coming to you and they're right here at you, you know, close to you, he's interested, he wants to play. But even if he's not gobbling, because a lot of times people will take a silent gobbler, one that's not gobbling very much, they'll take him for granted that, well, he's just not interested. And that's not true. He's just not gobbling because he's looking for that hen, and he's letting this right here do his calling for him. He's down there strutting and displaying. That's what he's doing. He's letting his strutting and his spitting and drumming, he's letting that do his calling for him. And he was down there doing, or he was right behind me doing this, and I could hear them old wings dragging. And like I said, at one time I could hear him breathing. So my fear was he was going to pop right here and bust me. So I never said nothing. I never even clucked. I never purred. I never soft, nothing. I just let him walk off. And I could hear him kind of back there rustling the leaves like 5, 6, 7 yards from me. So then I hear something. I look over to my right, and here comes the hen off the hill, and she's coming up to the gobbler, and the gobbler's right behind me. Now I've got 4 eyes to deal with instead of 2. So now I'm in a worse situation. But the hen, I think, saved me because she kind of went past me, went behind me, and she kind of went right back under the fence where that fence, kind of a little fence, a little wire fence. She must have went under it, and went, but I can't see this because I'm like this. Turkey's right behind me. But it went about 5 minutes, and I didn't hear him spitting anymore. I didn't hear the leaves drag, or the feathers in the dragging in the ground. Didn't hear that. But I still feel like he's behind me, and I'm still trying to be careful because I'm afraid he's going to bust me. But I'm just inches looking kind of like this, and I didn't see him. And I'm looking around, I didn't see him, and I didn't hear him. Okay, he walked off. See, now I feel good because he's walked off. Now I can move, or at least I can call and see where he's at. Now here's what I did. Instead of soft calling, because now here's something that if you would have soft called a lot of times, if you would have just soft yelped, he may have come back and not gobbled and let me know where he was at, and he would have just come sneaking back in, and I'd still been like this. So here's what I did, because in my head the whole time that he's behind me and doing this, I'm trying to paint this picture in my head of what can I do when he walks off. Well, here's what I'm going to do. See, that this gobbler came looking for that hen he heard up there that he didn't recognize. So I was just that hen that kind of went over the hill. He's up there strutting. You know, I'm kind of that hen that's moved off. But I'm interested, but I'm just kind of down there feeding around. He just can't see me. So he goes off with the hen he sees. So once I know I'm in the clear, I move up like this, and I just cut one time. Just pop, 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 pop. Just cut one time on the mouth call. And when I cut, he gobbled, and he was probably 25, 30, maybe 30 yards over the hill. Now I'm in the safe. Now I'm in the safe zone. He's kind of in the woods, and he's kind of over a little dip. So the moment that I knew I was safe, I jumped around the side of the tree, got pointed in the right direction, and that's when I started hammering him. Now he's close, but I started cutting. Now, why did I cut when the turkey's that close? Why didn't I just soft call? Because now I've got to get him back. Now I've got to get him back, and I got to get him excited enough that he'll come back. You get what I'm saying? So I cut again, and he gobbles the second time, and then now I'm pointed, and I hear him spitting and drumming, and it wasn't 2 or 3 minutes later, I seen him coming back to the fence. I seen this fan coming up through the woods here, and he came up to that little wire electric fence, and he was about 15 yards when I shot him. And man, you talking about a messed up turkey's head. Them apex ninjas at 15 yards absolutely just, it just rocked his brain. But, you know, but I've done that a lot. Now, a lot of times you're going to have situations where a gobbler just don't do what you want them to do. They'll come in too far to the right, too far to the left, or they'll come in behind you. You let them walk off. Call them back in. That's the best way to move on a gobbler. Let him leave. And I know it's hard because you're like, oh, what if he don't come back? Well, hey, at least you're in the safe. If he doesn't come back, you can hunt him tomorrow. But if you start moving and you start trying to force movement, you're gonna blow him out of there, and it may mess you up for the next day's hunt too. So if if he wouldn't have come back, I'd just gotten there in the morning and tried it again, because chances are he'd have been right back into the same area in the morning. But anyway, that's just a little something to remember, is to let him walk off, call him back. But look at them spurs, and you know, pretty nice beard. But he's probably about a 22 pound gobbler, and just really a nice 4-year-old turkey. Been around a while, and but I was lucky enough to just be in the right place at the right time and know how to call this turkey. I didn't call super a lot, but the calling that I did was effective, and that's just kind of how you got to play the game. But anyways, it's been a tough season. You know, I mean, you know, this is my 4th turkey I've killed this year, and I mean, I've been hunting since March 26th. So, I mean, it's rough. You know, I mean, you think by now I've killed 7 or 8 usually by now, but this year they've been kicking my tail. They've been kicking everybody's tail, I think. But on these years where it's tough, it makes you a better turkey hunter. It makes you more patient. It makes you, you know how to call a little bit softer, stay patient longer, not move as much. So it trains you. So sometimes you need a year like this to make you better. Oh, all right. Well, we're going to get out of here and go skin this turkey out. I'm going to be headed up north here in probably a couple days. I'm going to be headed up north for the rest of the year. Try to maybe go over to Ohio and maybe New York, maybe even hunt West Virginia a little bit. I don't know. Maybe buy a tag while I'm up in Ohio and hunt West Virginia. Not for sure yet. But we got about 2 more weeks of the season left, so you stay after it if you're still hunting, because man, you can get these big old gobblers, these big old spurs like this. You can get them in the late season. I do every year, and it never fails. It's truly the best time to be a turkey hunter, in my opinion. Hey, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Just hit that subscribe button down the corner. I'd really appreciate it. Also, check out all the links below. Check out our new sponsor, Tidewe. You know, I've been using the Tidewe vest. Man, it's really a nice vest, and all their products. Go over and check them out. Also, Spring Fever Custom Calls, where you can pick up the Matt Dale Signature Series Old Sly of turkey calls. They've been selling so good this year, so if you still haven't got one, go over and check them out and get you one before season goes out, and maybe you'll call a big old late season gobbler in with it. Also, check out SOSO Outdoors. Check out my social media platforms of Facebook and Instagram. Check out my website, Dale Outdoors, where you can get my hats, my shirts, and all the other Dale Outdoor merchandise. And all the links. Join me on Pateron also. If you like to come over to Pateron, join me there and give a small donation. We'd really appreciate it. $2, $3, $4, $5 tip. If the videos have helped you out this year and you feel like that you made you a better turkey hunter and you want to give something, feel free to do that right there on Patreon. But anyway, we're going to head out, and we're going to be, you know, going after them up north. So we got a road trip coming up, and we'll see you in the next video.